Thank you so much for joining us this morning for the monthly employment data release media call. My name is Kristen Durkee and I serve as press secretary for FloridaCommerce. Joining me here is Jimmy Heckman, Bureau Chief for Workforce Statistics and Economic Research. At the conclusion of this presentation, we will be taking questions from potential media. To ask a question, please submit it through the Teams chat feature, since we will not be able to accept questions through a private chat. We will address as many questions as possible, but if your question is not covered, please email media@commerce.fl.gov and our teams will work to get you an answer. Today's presentation is focused on employment data for August 2025. If you have questions regarding other Florida Commerce topics, also use the media@commerce.fl.gov to connect with our communications and external affairs team. I will now turn it over to Jenny.
Thank you, Kristen. Good morning, everybody. At 10 o'clock this morning, the Florida Department of Commerce released preliminary August 2025 labor statistics, as well as revised July 2025 labor statistics for the state of Florida, as well as its sub-state areas, including all metropolitan areas, counties, and large cities. These data were produced by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics through a federal-state cooperative agreement with FloridaCommerce, and these data were collected through a combination of employer and household surveys, administrative records, and statistical modeling techniques. Florida's unemployment rate and labor force estimates are published under the Local Area Unemployment Statistics Program using information collected by the Current Population Survey. These statistics are based on a survey of households, and they capture information about individuals as opposed to jobs, and they are calculated by place of residence as opposed to place of work. Florida's seasonally adjusted unemployment rate in August 2025 was 3.8%, up 1/10 of a percentage point from the previous month, and up 0.4 of a percentage point from August of last year. The national unemployment rate was 4.3%, up 1/10 of a percentage point from the previous month. Florida's unemployment rate is still 0.5 of a percentage point lower than the national rate and has now remained lower for 58 consecutive months since November of 2020. In August of 2025, Miami-Dade County had the state's lowest unemployment rate at 2.9%, followed by Monroe County at 3.1%, and Wakulla County at 3.9%. Sumter County had the highest unemployment rate at 7.6%, followed by Taylor County at 7.5%, and Citrus County at 6.6%. The unemployment rate of 3.8% in August 2025 represented 424,000 jobless individuals out of a labor force of 11,196,000. Florida's total employment of 10,772,000, or the number of total people with jobs, decreased by 7,000, or 0.1% from the prior month, while unemployment increased by 7,000, or 1.7 of a percentage point from the prior month. Florida's labor force of 11,196,000, which is composed of all currently employed workers, as well as unemployed job seekers who are actively looking for work, remains unchanged from the prior month. In this graphic here, we see the over the year percent change in the labor force in Florida, shown in blue, compared to the United States, shown in green. As of August 2025, Florida's labor force has increased by 0.2 of a percentage point over the year, and the national labor force has grown at a rate of 1.4% over the same time period. Job creation data for Florida are derived from the Current Employment Statistics, or CES survey, conducted by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. The CES survey collects data from over 40,000 Florida businesses and establishments each month to measure jobs by industry across the state. Since these statistics are based on a survey of employers, they measure counts of jobs as opposed to individuals, and they capture characteristics of employers, such as industry and place of work. Total non-agricultural employment in Florida fell to 10,048,400 jobs in August 2025, down 4,100 jobs, or less than 0.1% from the prior month. This figure is up 98,200 jobs from 1 year ago, which is an over-the-year increase of 1.0%. The private sector component of employment was 8,875,500 jobs in August 2025, down 4,200 jobs, less than 0.1% change from the prior month. Total private employment was up 85,400 jobs from August 2024, an over-the-year increase of 1.0%, and this is the same as the national private sector job growth rate over the same period. In addition to the preliminary August 2025 data released today, FloridaCommerce also released revised employment estimates for July 2025. With today's release, the over-the-month employment change in July, initially reported as a gain of 7,300 jobs, is now estimated to be a decline of 9,200 jobs. As of today's release, total non-agricultural employment in Florida has now declined for 3 consecutive months, amounting to a cumulative decrease of 34,200 jobs since May of this year. The above chart shows that Florida's over-the-month employment change by industry supersector from July to August of 2025. 6 out of the 10 industry supersectors in Florida gained jobs over the month. Construction gained the most jobs over the month, increasing by 3,600 jobs, 0.5%, followed by information, increasing by 2,300 jobs, or 1.5%, and manufacturing, increasing by 1,700 jobs, or 0.4%. 4 of the 10 industry supersectors in Florida lost jobs over the month. Leisure and hospitality lost the most jobs, declining by 5,500 or 0.4%, followed by trade, transportation, and utilities, declining by 4,300 jobs or 0.2%, and professional and business services declining by 3,000 jobs or 0.2%. The latest job openings and labor turnover survey data from BLS show that the average layoff rate in 2025 is 1.0% of total employment. This is up 0.1 percentage point from 2024, but is still lower than in any year prior to 2022. Meanwhile, year to date in 2025, the average hiring rate is 3.8% of total employment, down 0.3 percentage point from 2024, and the slowest hiring rate since 2019. In this graphic, we see the historical help wanted online job postings from January 2018 to August 2025. This data comes from Lightcast and their help wanted online data series. In August 2025, there are 427,054 monthly online job postings, just over 1 posting per unemployed person in the state. The August job demand level represents an increase of 10.9% from last year, but remains below peak levels from 2022. The graphic shown here shows the share of the unemployed population that report as having lost their job, shown here in blue, and the share of the unemployed population that say they have recently entered the labor force looking for work in green. In August 2025, 41.5% of total unemployment were job losers, while 46.4% of total unemployment were new entrants or re-entrants to the labor force. Over the past 12 months, nearly 100% of the increase in total unemployment has been among entrants to the labor force. And as of August 2025, labor force entrants have overtaken job seekers as the largest category of unemployed Floridians for the first time since 2019. In this graphic, we see the over-the-year change in employment by industry supersectors between August 2024 and August 2025 in Florida, shown here in blue, compared to the United States, shown in green. The fastest growing Florida industries over the past year were education and health services at 2.5%, followed by other services at 1.8%, and trade, transportation, and utilities at 1.2%. 6 major indicators outpaced six major sectors, outpaced national trends over the past 12 months. The top 3 sectors where Florida outperformed national growth the most were information, manufacturing, and trade, transportation, and utilities. The map shown here shows the seasonally adjusted over the month job growth by local metro area in August 2025. 4 of the 25 metro areas had over the month job gains. The Tampa metro area grew at a rate of 0.5%, the fastest job growth among all Florida metro areas, followed by the Panama City Beach, and Gainesville metro areas, each growing at a rate of 0.2%, followed by the Jacksonville metro area growing at a rate of less than 0.1%. The metro areas that added the most jobs in August were the Tampa metro area, adding 5,100 jobs, followed by Jacksonville, adding 400 jobs, and the Gainesville metro area, adding 300 jobs. 17 of Florida's 25 metro areas had over the month job losses. The metro areas that lost the most jobs in August were the Miami Beach, Kendall metro area, losing 1,500 jobs, followed by the West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, Delray Beach metro area, losing 1,100 jobs, and the Orlando, Kissimmee, Sanford area, losing 1,000 jobs. This concludes the presentation, and we will field any questions from credentialed media.
This question is from Tom Urban. We are starting to see a trend of upward unemployment, given the state has slowly been creeping up over the past 2 years, or is there another explanation for the slight increase?
Good morning, Tom, and yes, thank you for that question. That is a trend that we have been trying to track in these monthly rate release events. I think slowly is the right adjective to put there. Right, this is the every few months we have an upward tick of 0.1% in the unemployment rate. For the past few months now. As we showed in the slide in the presentation, a lot of that increase in unemployment is actually coming from people entering the labor force or new entrants or people re-entering the labor force after a gap in employment. The number of people that say that they're unemployed because they lost their jobs is actually down as a share of the number of unemployed people in the state. So we don't think that the rise in unemployment is a story of people actually losing their jobs. We think it's a story of people entering the labor force. A rising unemployment rate might mean that it's taking a slightly longer time for people who are entering the labor force to find a job. But we think that that's overall a story of people entering the labor force and looking for work.
Our next question is from Jim Turner. What are your thoughts on the decline in private sector jobs for the second time in 3 months? Are we moving to a trend?
And good morning, Jim, and thank you for that question as well. Yes, this is we reported another loss in private sector jobs this month, and this is actually the third consecutive month of private sector job losses, given that the July number was revised down to a negative report as well. If this is starting possibly to become a trend that we're going to track going forward. The answer to my previous question, I think, addressed some parts of this where we are seeing more unemployed individuals, but they're actually in the labor force looking for work. Some of the hiring numbers that we shared today indicate that firms are hiring at a slower rate than usual, or that we have seen in the past few months. However, we're not seeing any number of increased layoffs or any number of people reporting that they lost their jobs. So we do we do think that this is a story of maybe a little bit slower hiring, possibly some of the demographic effects that we've talked about in previous months of workers retiring. Florida's got a high retirement age population, and those demographic effects starting to trickle into our private sector job numbers. But that is something with a couple months in a row of negative job gains that we'll continue to track going forward.
Thanks, Jimmy. Again, thank you so much for joining us today for the August 2025 rate release. If you have any additional questions, please email media@commerce.fl.gov. We look forward to having you for our next rate release for September 2025 on Friday, October 17th, 2025. Thank you and have a good weekend.